And if you think about it, why can you go everywhere in the world and witches and vampires look the same? It's because everybody's taking the same training. It's like a witch in the Ukraine doesn't look different from a witch in South Dakota. We learn things about people and it's been passed.
Is that like because it's conditioned, like over time, like we
It's
are
been taught.
taught?
Yeah. Well, they took courses in physiognomy. So if you, I hate calling
Wait,
it
you could
face
tell
reading.
if someone's a witch?
It's behavior, bitches.
Hey guys, it's Leah. Welcome back to today's episode of Behavior Bitches Podcast. I am so excited to be here today. I know I always say I'm excited, but this guest is really special and a topic that I think all my behavior nerds will be super fascinated by. So, before we get into who our special guest is, obviously I got to share the reinforcement coming in from you guys. So, this review actually came in as an Instagram message, and it is from Amanda Gosson. It said, I just wanted to drop you all a line. I started my BCBA hours at the beginning of the month and found your information. I started listening to the podcast and sit and love each piece of the podcast. I'm a mother to a 13-year-old with behavior issues, recovering addict, optioned my MA in psychology and added my MA in ABA. I love everything about you guys and feel like I found the right place to learn. Also, just a fun thing, when I listen to you guys, I feel like I'm in the room and respond to your comments. Haha. Can't wait to do a task list with you guys and connect more. Amanda, thank you so much for leaving this review. So sweet. I love it. I'm so happy we could be a part of your journey. Here for whatever you need. We're ready for you. And when you're ready to take the test, that's our jam. Getting into the juicy stuff for today, we have guest Brian Galkey, also known as the Decoding Detective, is not only a master of interpersonal skills, but also a renowned keynote speaker. His unique journey from grappling with social anxiety to excelling in high stakes retail and service roles showcases his capability to turn personal challenges into professional success. Brian's expertise in decoding facial features is more than just a communication skill. It's a career game changer that has been pivotal in his professional climb. His engaging presentations are filled with actionable insights derived from the same groundbreaking techniques he has shared on stages alongside notable figures like Chris Voss, Brad Lee, Renee Rodriguez, Janine Driver, Steve Sims, and Amberly Lago. Welcome to the show, Brian.
Thank you.
I am I'm stoked for this, and I know everyone. We actually had to have everyone on the. We had a camera back there because everyone
Right.
had so many questions. When we
Sure.
did that pre-interview, like, I was just dying to ask so many questions. So why don't we start off? And why don't you tell me how you got into facial reading?
Sure. Fluke circumstance. The book you're holding there. A friend came in from out of town and she said, yes, amazing face reading. This is my book from 2011, or actually I bought it in 2010. A friend came in from out of town. She said, hey, let's go to dinner. I show up at the restaurant. She calls and says, I'm not going to make it. I'm like, why? I'm already here. And she's like, no, you need to come over here and meet this guy. I go, why? I'm already at the restaurant. I've already ordered. I'm just going to stay. She's no, you need to come meet this guy. I'm like, why? She goes, because he reads faces. And I go, yeah, I'm not going for that crap. I'm like, I've got books on body language. I've got a whole shelf full, all the statement analysis, networking. I've never heard of it. It can't be real. So she finally convinces me to go, but I went to go prove that the guy was a fraud because he ruined my dinner plans. And so I went, and he was amazingly just disarming as soon as you meet him. So he just has this gentle demeanor, super nice, super friendly. And he sat us all down at dinner and he just started analyzing people top to bottom by their faces. And I was waiting to catch him. I'm like, he's going to say the same thing twice, or he's going to say what's known as Barnum statements. Those are generic statements that can apply to everyone. Like, you've had a hard time in life. Oh, you know someone whose name starts with M. A family member has had a darkness in their chest. All those things can apply to anyone because it could be heart, lung, whatever.
Right.
So I've read books on that, like on mentalism and all these things. So I wanted to be prepared. And I couldn't catch him doing anything that he was repeating or anything. Then he got to me and I was like, this guy's been digging through my trash. Like, it was kind of scary how accurate it was. And he was just going top to bottom, left to right, and saying, this is what your face says about you. And in addition to, at first, it's overwhelmed. And you have to think about what he says and like, okay, I agree, I disagree. And I could agree with everything. But the amazing side effect was I felt seen. And in a day and age when we don't feel like people know who we are, the idea that our face communicates about us to other people, we're just not formally trained, blew my mind. So I bought that book right there. That's why it's all worn out. You can see like it's
I
falling
love it. It's
apart.
very study notes ABA, our style, how we
Yeah.
take all the notes, the highlights. I love it.
Yes. And then after that, he came out with these flashcards. And so I bought them. And I'd just take them, I'd take them out with me at different places and I'd look for people and be like, oh, they've got rounded eyebrows and this is what it means. So just like when we're studying for a test, I bought the book, but the flashcards did me better. But I still didn't trust him. So what I would do is I'd kind of played on human nature and I'd take the book with me and I'd lay it down on the counter. And people go, what's the book about? I go, well, I took this class, but I kind of think the guy's full of crap. Can I ask you questions? And that was my way to give people the permission to say if it was accurate or not. And surprisingly, it was accurate. And I'm not 100%, but in the high 90s. So I'd go and I'd take it to restaurants. And so I do this whole thing about you want to know how to get free food and drinks? Take that book with you. Because then you start telling people about themselves. And they're like, wait, hold on.
And you're like, you love giving free drinks out.
Exactly. And then they go, let me grab somebody else. Because everybody's skeptical when it's them, but when they can observe you doing it to somebody else. So then they bring over another waiter. Then they bring over the manager. Then they bring over another bartender. And then they go, can we get you anything? I'm like, yes, you can. And that's where the free food and drinks would come in.
That's amazing. And, you know, in our science in ABA, we call that repeatability. Repeatability is the idea of, and also I have people studying for the exam, so I put these concepts in. That is when we see something over and over, right? Like you're like, oh, this medication works. Look, I'm going to use it on this person and on this person, on this person. And that increases our believability,
Yes.
right? And we look for replication. So obviously when they're seeing, like, they're more likely to believe it when they see like, okay, it worked for this person and this person and this person.
Yeah. And I would tell them what it was. And then I'd open up the book and I'd show them where I'm like, here's the paragraph. Does this make sense? And they'd be like, yes. And then I started practicing it. Like when I'd go to airlines and hotels, I'd walk up and I'd look at what shape are the person's eyebrows that are working the desk. And that would determine how I asked for the upgrade. So there's 3 basic types of eyebrows in terms of shapes. Even go look at Legos, 3, and that's all they have. So they have straight, they have angled, and they have rounded. So if it was a straight eyebrow, I'd get straight to the point. I'd like an upgrade, please. If they had angle like I do, what's their angle? Help them understand it. What's their benefit? So I'd be, hey, I'm Brian Galki, I'm a Diamond member. Is an upgrade available? Well, they're helping out a Diamond member. That's their win. If I walked up and they had rounded eyebrows, the rounded eyebrow people think about the people around them first and themselves second. So I'd be like, oh, I just had a long flight. That drive was uncomfortable. If I could get a larger room, stretch out in, it'd just be amazing. So I'm asking for an upgrade based on the person behind the desk is how I would ask for the upgrade.
So you're discriminating between like, this is the way this person would best respond.
Yes.
Versus like this person isn't like the straightforward one is not going to care like whether my body hurts or not.
Exactly.
Like get to the point.
Yeah. Straight facts, figures, data. So you can literally look, if you think about it, we've been trained not just by books, but by movies and television at the same time. So Spock, what do they do to the actor? They just give him a straight eyebrow. And what's Spock known for? Logic, data. So we've been trained our entire life. And I say that because if you look in the book and everything, physiognomy, aka face reading, has been around since the Greeks was the first book was published by Aristotle. And then it was part of the academic system until Henry VIII said, I don't like the idea that this can be used against their fellow man by beggars and vagabonds. And he had it yanked out. But it was still kept relevant because authors, artists, and attorneys would take classes in it. Authors to describe characters in a book, because the only way back then, you couldn't have a picture of every character. So they had to learn to describe someone through their actions and through their facial features. Well, what happens? We all have assigned reading as kids. So we are picturing these people in our heads and assigning things about the people based on what we had to read. So we're all amateur face readers. We just don't know it. And what's crazy is how effective this is. And it was the first proactive skill I ever met, meaning I can go look you up on LinkedIn ahead of time and start thinking, what do we have in common? What's different? How can I make my presentation for the person?
I love that, like the individualization.
Yes. That's what people get wrong the most on social media. Everybody goes into, oh my gosh, this is racist and all this. It's, no, you're looking at the individual and their individual features, just like fingerprints, because no 2 faces are the same. Even identical twins, born in the same household, same genetic code, but they had different life experiences, so they had different thoughts. They made different faces. And that's why you'll even find little subtle differences in identical twins.
It's behavior, bitches.
Hey guys, it's your favorite bitch, Liat here. Are you stressing about taking the BCBA or BCABA exam? Feeling like you don't know where to start? You got into this field, you're worried, your program didn't prepare you so much, you're wondering how you're gonna get through grad school, then let alone take this test? Well, let me take that stress on for you. Over here at Study Notes ABA, this is what we do. We eat, breathe, sleep, thinking about the BCBA exam. I've been carrying around my Cooper book for the last 8 years so that you can chill. If you're getting ready to study and wondering what you could be doing, sign up for our live collective. It's 12 weeks, which is done over 24 classes. We meet twice a week. It's taught from actual BCBAs who have been there in your shoes studying for the exam. We make everything relatable, funny. You are actually going to enjoy the study process. And hold me to that. If you're not enjoying it, let me know. I'll be shocked. You get a study group, people who are studying the exact same thing, shared adversity. We could ask all your questions, and we take all the notes with you. You are going to have the most beautiful doodles by the end, and your Cooper book will seem way less scary. Are you worried about payment plans? We've got that too. We get what it's like being an RBT in the field. So stop stressing, start getting ready to pass the test, and go to studynotesaba.com/collectives, and we have it all there laid out beautifully for you. That is so, so cool.
Yeah.
We're going to play a little game
Sure.
called Face Off. Okay?
All
I'm
right.
going to give you two famous faces,
Okay.
and you're going to tell us, based on their facial features alone, who's more likely to do the things that I'm going to say right now,
Okay.
if this works. So we're going to try this game out, okay? Face Off.
Sure.
First, we have Ryan Reynolds versus Jake Gyllenhaal.
Okay.
All right. Of these guys, who is more likely to start an argument at a family barbecue?
Oh, well, it'd be Jake, but here's fine. Ryan will do it for the attention, right? If you know him, this has nothing to do with his face, but I love his personality and everything that he's got. Like Deadpool 3 was amazing. But what you can see over here is Jake has perfectionist-like lines right here. So if you have more than 2 lines, those are perfectionist-like tendencies. So when people squint, if you have 1, it's a freight train line. If you have 2, it's a forced focus line. If you have more than 2, it's perfectionist-like tendencies. See how he's got those lines right here? So he's the perfectionist. So when he hears something that he knows isn't right, he's going to argue with it and bring it up.
Wow. Okay. And what about them? Which of them is more likely to overshare on a first date?
Oh, Ryan Reynolds, 100%. Because if you look at Jake, for the size of his face, he actually has a smaller mouth. So you wouldn't notice it until I pointed out. But if you look, right, his mouth barely comes under his eye. Look how wide Ryan's mouth is compared to his eyes. So we literally say you have a big mouth, or when somebody talks a lot, that's the reason we say it. We talk about faces all the time. We just don't think about it.
Does it make any difference here that one is smiling versus the other? Like, are those variables
It
involved?
is a variable, but you can still see, even you can't smile larger than your mouth is, right? So yes, it's there, but you can see Ryan's mouth goes all the way across. Jake's is kind of smaller. So even if he smiled, he can't smile larger than his mouth is.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, next up we have Kim Kardashian and Paris Hilton.
Okay.
These are very serious photos,
I know.
ladies.
I feel very
Where'd you
judged
pull
by
their
it.
jail shots?
Yeah.
Literally, I feel like we literally found their
Yeah.
head. Okay. Of these two,
Mhm.
who is more likely to forget your birthday but Venmo you money?
To Venmo you money. Okay. So it's hard to know on part of this because we can't see a lot of Kim Kardashian, right? Like you can't see her eyebrows, things like that. What I
Oh,
can
yeah.
tell you, here's what Paris Hilton has. She's a time and attention person because she's got fuller eyelids. So we talked about this downstairs. 3 of the 5 love languages are written on a face. So see how she has very full upper eyelids? That's time and attention. So she enjoys doing things with other people. She actually has a smaller upper lip. So even though she's had, you can tell, plastic surgery there, people who have a thinner upper lip, they don't tend to talk about themselves a lot. So people who don't talk about themselves ask questions for others, right? Kim has larger on both. So that's I'd lean towards her. Now, what's interesting is, what do they have in common? They both have strong jawlines. So once they make up their mind, they latch in into their position. But the Venmoing money, there's nothing on the face that says that you'd share money or not.
Okay, fine. What about this?
Yes,
Who's more likely to talk their way out of a speeding ticket?
Kim Kardashian. And the reason why, so look at
Because
her.
she went to law school.
Well, and
Yeah.
that, and her eyes angle up. So people that eyes angle up, they think about the upside of things. So she's going to think of the positive things to say to get out of the situation. Versus Paris Hilton's eyes are more even. So she's a pros and cons kind of person. So Kim Kardashian is seen as more friendly because when we see that eyes angle up, we think that person focuses on the upside of things.
Wow. Okay. Who is more likely to lead a cult?
I think you'd have to go younger Paris Hilton, but only because she had the first social media like following that was out there, right? But I think as far as can capture people now, I think Kim Kardashian would.
Is there something in her face that tells you that?
I think
Or is
so.
this like, okay, so I need to know.
Sure.
Is this skewed because of him in the news? Or like,
No.
could you tell me this about these people? So we're gonna do
Yeah, you
like
could throw anybody up there. Like, let's break down both the pictures. So I'll tell you what I see on Kim, then what we see on Paris,
Okay.
and that may back up kind of what you're saying. So we'll go with Kim Kardashian first. So I can't see the shape of her eyebrows, but look at how her eyes angle up. So she wants to hear about the upside of things. What she has is the high and wide cheeks that come all the way out here that round. Those are called healer cheeks. So we're drawn towards people that have rounded cheeks because everything we read, fairy tale books, Santa Claus, Mrs. Claus, Mother Goose, all those have those big rounded cheeks, and we're drawn towards rounded things versus pointed things. So with her having those cheeks, those are also called movie star cheeks. So when she walks into a room, the way that light reflects off of her cheeks gets her attention when she walks into a room. Now it also brings disdain because people are like, oh, she's stealing my attention. So based on her cheeks, she gathers attention from people more. That's why the cult thing would work for her. Versus if you look at Paris Hilton, she doesn't really have that. Her cheeks have kind of sunken in. Like I would actually question, is she got anything medically going on in that picture? Because she used to have very wide cheeks, and now she doesn't in this picture.
yeah, this picture, I don't know where Martha found it, is
Yeah.
looking a little it's like
I
it's
s-
not fair. She
I
gets
feel
like a hot one of a
judged.
Kim and then this.
Exactly.
Also, like if you move your head with the Paris one, her eyes follow you.
That's what I'm saying. I feel very judged by that picture.
It's like kind of creepy.
Yeah. And then if you look, she also has, Kim has a rounded chin there. So rounded chin is I take one on the chin for the people I care about versus if you have a flat one. So that's why I think she would draw in more people. Now you look over to Paris Hilton. So what she has is she's actually, she has eye puffs here. So this is pushing herself too hard. So that's the way our body reacts is when we push ourselves too hard, there's several ways. One, if it's lack of sleep, our eyes here will swell. But if it's you're pushing yourself way too much, this area of your face will swell. So what you can see on Paris Hilton
So
is
those could go away.
those can go away. Yes.
Can
Now,
all of this change?
there's 43 muscles in the face, and it's the mind creates movement, movement creates muscle. As we're having thoughts, things can change over time. Now, once you have a wrinkle, Botox is the only way to get rid of it. But with the rest, yes, our face is constantly changing. So I showed you a picture of me at 18 versus 38 that I'll send, you can use this later. And it was how much my own face had changed. So I used to have straight eyebrows and not angled eyebrows. My ears used to stick out more farther away from my head. Like my nickname in school was ears when I was younger. Like I just had larger ears, but I'm a visual learner, and my ears have kind of gone back. And you can see in the book or in the flashcards, ears that stick out are people who push back. So it's like wind drag on a plane. So think like Ross Perot, right? What did he have? Big old honking ears that were way out here. But as over time, they can go closer to your head, and they can go not just like fold up, but the lower part can stay out. Those are called diplomatic ears. Versus if your ears just kind of like they're stapled to your head, those are go with the flow. Like you just follow whatever orders you have.
So I'm assuming anyone listening is probably thinking the same thing as me.
Yes.
I'm thinking, I mean, I understand. I'm assuming
Mhm.
part of your job is to majorly, people are going to come in here
Yeah.
with like philosophic doubt, like this is sounding
I love it
right.
because I was a skeptic. So that's the funny thing is people want to argue online, and I go, look, I'm a skeptic too, but I've been doing this for 14 years. But I didn't just go, oh, he told me it works, so here you go. The story I told you, I took the book with me, and I would just start using it, and I would ask people for feedback, and I just found it was so valuable. And that's the thing is people go, oh, it's not a science. It's not because it doesn't meet the 5 metrics of the scientific method with 100% repeatability, but neither does body language, statement analysis. I mean, I could go all day long. What's the right way to brush your teeth? There's no scientific way, right? But still hope everybody does.
Right.
So that's the whole thing is I'm fine with it. As a matter of fact, one of my slides in my presentation is, don't worry, if you think this is BS, so did I. And I just called out because I went in as a skeptic and I was won over, and I'm a product of the product.
I mean,
by
that's
learning it.
right. So like the question I'd have is how much of it is genetics,
Mhm.
right?
Right?
Because I'm thinking, or I'm even thinking of my son, for example. My son was born at 31 weeks
Mhm.
and he was basically like still a piece of dough. So his
Right.
head was flat, right?
Right.
So he had
Yep.
to have a helmet,
Yep.
whatever it is. I was not always the best at keeping it on 24 hours a day. I still feel like
Right.
he has a little bit of a flat head. He's not old enough to listen yet, so I can talk about these things on here. And by then, I'm sure we'll be on episode 3000. He's not going to come back.
Right.
But like something like that.
Mhm.
So like, are you looking at head shape?
No, that's phrenology. So that is if you ever go into a store and there's that little bust and it's got all the little squares on a head, that's phrenology. That was discovered in the late 1700s, and it was very judgmental. It was like, oh, if you got a bump here, you're a criminal. And so it was like, oh, you're going to be all these things. It tried to attach itself to face reading, aka physiognomy, because they're like, well, it's all in part of the head, but it had nothing to do with it whatsoever. and it was very misused. It was used to judge people, to create racism, things of that nature. And you can't control your head that like. And the other thing I didn't like is it's permanent. So whatever you're born with is that's it.
That's what I was gonna say. There's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Sorry, I
yeah,
interrupted.
but no, you
Yeah.
didn't know. I'm thinking that. I'm like, because like if someone is born with a cleft lip,
Yes.
like you can't judge them on like what that is.
No, you just move on to another feature. That's the and people go, oh, I have Botox. Okay, did you?
That is my next question. I love anything that touches any muscles in my face.
Yeah.
So,
So
and like also Kim, I mean, if they are in Hollywood and they're not getting work done,
correct.
like I'm actually wondering why Paris has not got her Hollywood cheeks done.
That's what I'm looking at. Like I said, this is not a good picture of her. Like, look how much
Yeah, that was rude of Martha.
larger her lower limb or lower lip is. So that's I have no problem talking business, but the upper lip is we say, hey, keep a stiff upper lip when somebody's being like overly emotional and we want them to be stoic. We say, hey, keep a stiff upper lip. If you go to former communist countries and you look at generations that lived under communism, 99% of them have like flatter upper lips. But those same newer generations now of kids who can talk freely have larger lips than their parents had. So that's where it's a combination of genetics and epigenetics. So genetics is what you're born with, what you inherited from parents, grandparents, you name it. But from the minute you're born, you have these thoughts, and the outside world impacts you also. So weather, thoughts, things, and you make those faces, and that's when things adjust over time. So it's just like, for example, we all know the guy who goes to the gym, huge upper body, little tiny legs. It's not genetics, that's epigenetics. What muscles he chose to move and which ones he's skipping, and that dude skips leg day every day. Make sense?
Right. So it's like if someone, but like, couldn't it also be like, let's say you're someone and like you just don't have great eyesight.
Mhm.
So you're always looking at things like this,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So now they might have more lines.
They could. So this is going to go off to a different book that you'll love. Pick up a book called The Like Switch. So it sounds like light switch, but it's like, and it was written by a former FBI behavioral analyst, like in that division. And they taught agents when they walk into a room to raise up like this, go, hey, because this is recognition versus squinting is I'm surveying the room.
Ooh.
So you're correct. So yeah, it's a great book. It's red and it's called The Like Switch. And they talk about training agents. So the first thing when a new stranger enters the room is we look at their eyebrows to see, hey, recognition or foe. And after that, we go look at their hands and say, is there something that could harm me? So when you walk into a room, if you want to put everybody at ease, walk in, show your hands, hey, and you raise your eyebrows up. Now they also added to tilt your head to show a carotid artery because then it means that I'm not fearful, right? So there's things we do when somebody comes in. Yeah, so you walk in, raise your head, smile, and just like, hey, how's it going?
How's
And
it
yeah,
going?
yes, exactly. And so they teach that.
Ladies, welcome to work today.
Exactly. So it's all these things that we learn or that are taught. But again, there's not a science to it. It's just been studied over time. So what kept this relevant is authors and artists, like I talked about earlier, to write characters in a book. And if you think about it, why can you go everywhere in the world and witches and vampires look the same? It's because everybody's taking the same training. It's like a witch in the Ukraine doesn't look different from a witch in South Dakota. We learn things about people and it's been passed.
Is that like because it's conditioned, like over time, like we are
Been
taught?
Yeah. Well, they took courses in physiognomy. So if I hate calling
Wait,
it
you can
face.
tell if someone's a witch?
No, what I'm saying is if you ask them to draw one, they're all going to have the same
Oh.
features. Here's the way I look at it.
Like a longer nose,
Longer nose,
a mole.
downturned nose, pointy chin, right? All these things we'll see. What does the devil have? Angled eyebrows, downturned nose, pointy chin. Doesn't matter. You could have them pull up any one, they'll all have that. So if somebody has those features, I would pay attention to them, but I wouldn't judge it. So like a downturned nose, this is the way I explain it. If I can't see, if somebody's nose is downturned, you can't see their nostrils, then their air is all about them. So they've got the mentality of, oh, you got to just break a few eggs to make an omelet, right? The ends justifies the means. However, somebody whose nose angles up and we can see their nostril, we think they've got air to share, and then we go and talk to them. So we do all these things without
But how are my
realizing we're doing it.
nostrils?
Yours actually, we can see yours, so you're good. But you have that little niche notch that we talked about right here.
I
Remember?
do?
Yeah.
And the niche notch you said is,
Right here. See this line that you have in your nose?
oh my God, I do. I was not
Yeah.
aware of this.
Yeah. So look in there, and that is somebody who has to identify with their job, their career. They can't just take a job for title or pay. It's part of who you are, or else you wouldn't do it.
I mean, this, by the way, everyone, this book is that I'm looking at is so cool. It's talking about choosing people for jury duty, like
Yeah.
based on these.
That's so the three A's that have really kept the skill alive: authors, artists, and attorneys. Because attorneys have to look at someone, they can't use body language and try and figure out who would be a helpful juror or not. So even going back to the three eyebrows we talked about, Well, if I'm wanting to people who are, and I'm the defense attorney, I'm gonna look for people with rounded eyebrows who are gonna be sympathetic to my client. If I'm the DA, then I would look for angled eyebrows or straight eyebrows, right? So even those things can help weigh in on someone.
So are people using this?
Oh yeah, I've talked to attorneys. I've spoken at 2 attorney conferences this past year alone. But yeah, so Mac, who was an attorney, who learned it for jury consulting, then he left his law practice to teach this around the world because he realized the applications it had outside the courtroom.
I mean, it's so fascinating. So if someone is born, let's say,
Mhm.
with an unfortunate nose,
Mhm.
right?
Yes,
Or to them, it's unfortunate,
right.
right? Or whatever it is. And so they're like, I just don't, and maybe it is genetic,
Mhm.
maybe it's not.
Right.
Um, are you gonna use that to like read their face as well?
Oh yeah. So you can look at anything, but
Because I
if
feel like that just like sucks. That's like genetic.
it is, but you would just go, if I think that it's going to bother someone, I'll skip it, if that makes sense. So people all the time want to know, like, what's a bad feature? There is no necessarily bad feature, but if it's something that somebody is overly sensitive about, you can just kind of get a feeling for it, then I'll just skip it and move on. Does that make sense? Now, to go deeper into your question, if you read Psycho-Cybernetics by Malcolm Maltz, I think, he was a plastic surgeon that wrote a book on how if he altered the effect on someone's face, changed their nose, whatever, the affect would have an effect on how they felt and how they were treated by others. So that's where plastic surgery comes in, is if you have lip enhancement. So like I would recommend to Paris Hilton, like that lower lip is so much larger. I would tell them to even up that top lip a little bit. Like look at Kim's. They're kind of, she's got both a larger upper and lower lip, but look, it looks off on Paris's picture here. So I would think if she evened it up a little bit, she would seem more approachable versus right now it's judgmental, right? Because the strong jaw, that flatter upper lip, and just the way she's looking there. But so it's affect creates an effect, and that is people go and they have thinner lips, and subconsciously we know keep a stiff upper lip. If they get their lip enhanced, then they're larger and they seem more approachable, so more people approach them, and so it becomes an affect, creates the effect over time. And a perfect example of that before plastic surgeries, go look at 80 and 90-year-old women who put on lipstick. They'll draw larger lips than they actually have.
Wow. Very interesting.
Mhm.
Talking about the event, actually, isn't that how we got introduced?
That it is. So I went to an event here called Bookable Speakers in Dallas, and there was a guy who was, he does hostage negotiation training, right? Like, or he was a former hostage
yes.
negotiator,
Scott.
Scott, and he's like, you have to know these people, and they're here in Dallas, and he introduced us, and so that's one of the things. If I hadn't gone to that event, I wouldn't be sitting here now.
And I actually went to get lunch with him that day when he was in town.
Oh,
like
really?
when you actually like meet, because then someone's on your mind as well.
Yes,
As
absolutely.
opposed to being like it was fresh. We had just gone out to lunch.
Yeah.
I brought him by the office. I was like, I got to show you our new space.
Yeah. So if I hadn't gone to an event, if I hadn't talked to somebody that was in the room to learn just like I was, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. That's the value of getting in rooms and talking to the people in the room.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. That's actually how we've got every guest for the show. Like when I look at how it's grown slowly, different people,
Yeah.
you know, like you connect with and then they give you someone else. It's just, it's amazing.
Yeah,
So
we'll get you lined up.
get up. I'm excited. Thank you.
Of course.
Now let's do one more of these people that you maybe don't. Okay, here we go. We're going to do Ted Bundy
Mhm.
versus Joe Goldberg. But can it be a character in a show?
Sure.
But like,
Well, so here's the question. In the show, is that their actual facial features or have they had makeup done to alter how the character is seen? So, for example, the guy who plays Spock, right? That's not his natural eyebrows. So, did they alter anything in makeup or design to make him fit the character that?
so
for the
are there
show?
people who are like face experts in Hollywood who
I
are
don't-
like, let's like when they're doing character development, things like that, like they're looking at like your eyebrows need to be a little more like this.
They are, but I don't think they realize what they're doing. They're just good at it. So, for example, if you've ever read a book and then you went and watched the movie, if the characters don't look like who you picture in your head, we don't like the movie. Does that make sense? Have you ever read one and then you went and you're like, who are these
Yeah, I
people?
remember that with Da Vinci Code, like
Yes.
a long time ago.
Yeah. So that's the whole point is who we read the book about and who we're expecting. Sometimes they want to throw in a leading actor or actress, and that's not who the character in the book was, and that's why we don't like the movie. So I think whoever did it has usually read the books or skimmed it and is then looking for who fits in that part if they're good at their job.
Wow. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's look at Ted Bundy right now.
Sure. Oh, sorry, I thought I had that on Do Not Disturb.
No problem.
Let me make sure. Oh, it's because it's who it is. Okay.
So also, you girls keep me updated on the time because there's no timer on.
We're good. Oh, yeah.
So Ted Bundy,
Hmm.
pretty famous guy.
Right.
What do you see in him? Let's talk about his
Several
face.
things. Okay, so look at the top part. These are called Einstein lines. So what that is, that's deep, intense study. So he was very, very methodical. What they both have below that is what's called a brow ridge. So that's this area right here that's raised. So see how they both have that part? That is process-driven people. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. You were asking earlier about can faces change. You can go and Google people before they go into the military and after they get out, and this will be a thicker brow ridge. And people think it's related to testosterone, but it's not. It's the muscles of having to go through checklists and things that you do. Airline pilots, you'll see that a lot too, because they have to have a checklist for everything they do. I can't see the shape of the eyebrows because of the shadows that are there, but it looks like he has angled eyebrows. So it's what's his angle? He's going to take care of it. And then, so he doesn't really care about other people. He's not facts, figures, day. It's like what's in it for him, and then he'll take action on things. And that's what angled eyebrows are. Then you go look, he's got recessed eyes, so he's always sitting back and watching. Then what's interesting is see how his nose, that's called a Romanesque nose. That's somebody that once they make up their mind to do something, they just keep pushing steadily. So it's not the freight train line where they run full steam ahead, but somebody who doesn't give up easily. And that's what creates this nose ridge right here. We were talking about the movie star cheeks. Look at the whitest part of those pictures is how much the light reflects off of his cheeks right here. That's why he could lure victims in. So then he has
He was probably like, "Hi," with his head to the side.
exactly, yeah. Put them all at ease.
This is my artery. What's it called?
The carotid artery right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, on
Here's
the
my
other side.
carotid. Hi.
Show either one. Now, if you look, what's interesting is they both have this, but so he's got a flatter upper lip. Okay, so he doesn't talk a whole lot about himself. But see these little lines right here? So like when we were a kid and we drew a smiley face, we drew the smile and we did
Yeah.
etch and etch. Those are called secret lines. So when people start sharing too much information, they stop talking. That's what creates those little lines here. Look, the actor's got it also on his personal side. So this little area right here that he's got.
Like
So
these, right? Like a smiley like this.
Yep, exactly. So see, they both have it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then you look at, they both have very strong jaw. Once they make up their mind, they latch in, immovable. They both have, he's got a stronger chin, so criticism doesn't hurt him at all. That's why we say the phrase, take one on the chin.
That's Ted Bundy's?
Yeah, Ted Bundy. See how thick and large that is? So he didn't have to worry about criticism, things of that nature, versus Joe has a smaller chin. So criticism would sting a little bit more. Now, going back to look at Joe, you don't see any lines across here. Now, is that because it's airbrushed out? Is that because he's got Botox? So you don't know what he's got, but he's got the brow ridge that's there. I can't see because he's in the shadow quite a bit. But what he does have, the next part that you can see this bump in the nose right here? That's called a feisty bump. So that is, you're the nicest person ever until somebody backs you into a corner and then they come out kicking and screaming. So that's like in the book and stuff too. We talked about the 5 love languages. So his, for
Yeah,
sure,
let's talk about those.
is he has the wide area here. That's kinesthetic.
So who are we talking about?
Joe. So see how below his nose.
By the way,
dish
guys,
is very
Joe
wide?
Goldberg is Penn Badgley on the show You. That's a photo we're using.
Yeah, so that is physical touch. That's kinesthetic, hands-on learner. So it's people who want to get their hands dirty. If you're in a relationship with them, pat on the back, physical, not affirmation.
Touch.
Yeah, physical touch is big with them. So reassurance through, touch is a big thing for him. He's one example of what we talked about before, having a smaller mouth for the size of his face. Look at Ted Bundy. So again, he's quasi-smiling, but see how much larger his mouth is? So he can talk versus Joe's is smaller. But they both have a strong jawline, what's here. And it looks like there's a little thing here. And if that is, that's a highly adaptable cleft in his chin. I think that's here, but it's hard to tell because of the
Talking
shadow.
about Joe Goldberg again.
Yeah, Joe. But it's hard to see if that's in his face or is that because of the lighting and the shadowing on his face.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, like, if you saw Ted Bundy before you knew who Ted Bundy was, could you be like, this guy's fucked up?
Not because anything on his face. That's what he's flashing right there is a contemptuous smile, if you know what that is.
No.
So that's the used car salesman. It's a half smile that's fake. So we can tell the difference between a real smile and one that's there. So if you look, it's like a, I'm getting away with it type smile. That's what would keep me wondering, like, what's he smiling about? And that's a contemptuous smile. So that's more if you read into Paul Ekman. Now, that's actually in the book too. But Paul Ekman is the one that the show Lie to Me is based on. If you've ever watched that great show.
No.
Watch
What's
it
it
on Hulu. Lie to Me.
Lied to me.
Yeah. So Paul Ekman, Ekman, was a scientist who traveled all over the world, went to go visit tribes that hadn't really seen outside people to learn what are the micro expressions that we flash within portions of a second. So like that's a contemptuous smile that Ted Bundy has right there, where he's getting away with something where it's like, because he's secretly glad he's getting away with it. That's what would put me off about Ted Bundy. Like, why is he smiling? Was he getting away with it? I don't know. So that's what's also called like used car salesman smile, because he's going to
Like, do you see faces sometimes you're like, I would never work with that person?
I see things that I tend to stay away from. This is just personal preference. So I don't have a lot of upper eyelid. So I'm not a time and attention person. So if I've ever gone on a date, or I was married to somebody who had very full upper eyelids, they were time and attention. And so I'm like, oh, okay. So now can learn to have conversations early on and be like, hey, I know you like to do a lot of things together. I need time to do things by myself. So if I go and do too many things by myself, let me know and I'll invite you, instead of being upset when I go do things, right? So you can learn to have conversations with people about what you have in common. Neither one of us is right. Neither one of us is wrong. You have to learn to meet in the middle.
Right. Preferences.
Yes. So like, for example, I'm visual. When I was married, she had larger ears. She was more auditory. So if she was going to the store, then I had to tell her what I wanted. If I'm going to the store, you better text me or I'm coming back with like 5 of the wrong things and 2 of the right things. Yeah.
It's behavior, bitches.
Hey guys, it's Liat. We did it again. We made the boring not boring. We've done it a couple times and now we're just getting really good at it. Have you checked out our SAFmeds? What are the SAFmeds? Well, if you know what it stands for, all my ABA nerds out there, say all fast minute every day. We've taken the standard SAFmeds and made them actually funny. I mean, imagine playing Marry, Fuck, Kill or Would You Rather with SAFmeds. We have 5 crazy game variations, all the data sheets you need to track your fluency, understanding the ABA terms. If you're looking for fun ways to study, this is it. I know a lot of you guys, like myself, had bad experiences with having to make SAFmeds in college, but we have made over 560 Snabified SAFmeds for you. This took over 2 years in the making. They're perfectly thick. I'm very into how something feels. They're color-coded. They're already made for you that you could grab it, have it ready to go. So head on over to studynotesaba.com and get your SAFmeds now.
So I even have a dating course called lookingforloveandallthewrongfaces.com.
That is brilliant.
Because I got so tired of, during the pandemic, everybody just send me pictures, be like, well, what about this person? What about that person? I'm like, look, you just go take the course. I made it super cheap, because all you have to figure out is, what do we have in common? What's different? And then you can have those discussions early on instead of later.
So you could look at someone on an app and be like, you guys would more likely be compatible.
Mm-hmm. So the way that
my phone is recording right now. This is annoying. I have some.
We'll go afterwards. Yeah. So this is the way that I learned also. So people would hire Mac and to just come and read faces for like an event, right? It's like, so I call it paid practice. And we go to these corporate events and just sit, and 2 people would sit down, and I would say, okay, there's 3 options. I can analyze your faces individually. I can tell you what you have in common, or I can tell you what's different. And the couples would always pick, like a majority of the time, they would say, oh, we want to know what's different. And I'd say, okay, well, you have this. And using the example I just did, one would have fuller eyelids, one would have thinner eyelids. I'm like, so he wants to do things, with you more often because he's got the fuller eyelid. You don't have a lot of eyelids, so you're fine doing things by yourself. You guys need to learn to meet in the middle. They go, why have we been paying for a marriage counselor? I'm like, it's literally written on our faces.
So you can't hide it.
You can't hide it, and you can learn to see it and adjust it and go, that's just the way they're wired. So for example, Joe Goldberg here is a good example of somebody who has eyebrow very close to his eye, and he has very high ears. So those are people who see and hear things very quickly. So he probably has a tendency to interrupt people because he gets it, and he's trying to help you get there as fast as he does. It's not to be rude. It's not that he thinks he's smarter. He just has it, and he wants to help you get there. And so where people used to interrupt me, if they have those 2 facial features, I go, that's just the way they're wired. It's not to be rude.
So it makes you more empathetic.
Yes.
Or just like, oh, that's part of them.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
I say, with the face comes grace, because your face tells us about you, and now I can understand how you are.
This brings us to the most important part of the show. I just pulled my hair back.
Yes, I saw that.
Let's tell me about me. I'm going to see if it's accurate.
Sure. So let's go with different things. So the first part is, and you can find it in here, your chin dimples up quite a bit. So that's called an obstinate chin. So that's somebody who thinks everybody's full of crap. So you're constantly following up going, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you really, really sure? That's that first part. And this is where it's fun. Watch her, because she's going to try not to give anything away and not smile or nod her head yes or anything. So, because everybody does this. There you go. Now, what we talked about is you have a little bit of that verbal affirmation line right here. So not a very deep one, but you still have it. So of the three love languages, you have two that are very visible on your face, and that is the kinesthetic areas right here. That's below the nose and above the mouth. That's wide, so physical touch, and then words of affirmation are right here. So that's two of what you have.
And you said that you could only get 3 of the 5 love languages from the face.
Correct. So the one you don't have is the fuller upper eyelids, and that would be time and attention. Now, what's interesting, if you go look after this is done, this is where it gets to be fun. You're going to go look in the bathroom mirror. Your left has a slightly larger eyelid than your right does. So at work, you're fine doing things by yourself, but actually at home, you like to do things as a we versus a me, right? And so when you go look, this eyebrow or this eyelid is fuller than this one is. And that's how we're asymmetrical, because this is the personal side, this is the professional side. So an easy way to remember is I say, hey, are you married? That's a personal question. Wedding ring goes on this hand. This is always the personal side. Doesn't matter where they're born in the world, male, female, born anywhere. It's always right brain versus left brain thinking. So this is the personal side. This is the professional side. So on your personal side, you have a fuller eyelid. Now, on your professional side, your eye angles down slightly. So eye angles, we talked about this earlier. If they angle up, I want to hear about the upsides. If it angles down, I'm worried about the downsides of things. So I'm going to investigate. Have we thought about this? Have we thought about that? So looking at yours, you have an even eye on your personal side, but on your the professional side, it angles down a little bit. So you're thinking about, have we thought about this? What about this? What have people possibly missed? What are the speed bumps we need to pay attention for? Potholes in the road. Does that make sense?
It does. On that specifically, I feel like, I mean, maybe my team could see that. I feel like I'm just like it just like in work, I was just like, go ahead. I'm not even thinking about.
Right. But are you focused on the positives, or are you thinking about, have we thought about this, or have we thought about that? And then again, they can answer later, but
You think-
something for you to,
Yeah, that's
look at.
interesting. Okay, keep going.
All right.
I got to think about that one.
Yeah. So then look at me more. So what's interesting is your eyebrows are more straight than anything else. They can be a combination of things. Like some people will be where it goes really straight and then it's angled. But for yours, they're more straight. So that's straight to the point. Facts, figures, detail when we're giving you information. Then
Well,
raise,
that's true.
raise your eyebrows up, squint down. So you have the perfectionist lines. They're not there all the time, but you have
No, I have
more than two.
Botox.
Yeah. But you can still, when you squint hard, we can see it. So everybody, I know, yeah, you can't see yourself now. But yeah, you've got that. And then we already talked about, you have the niche notch right here in your nose, right? So that's that little, it's right here on the tip, and that's that little line that's right here. And then turn a little bit more this opposite way so I can see this side. Okay, so you have a little bit of creases in your nostril. That's a hard time delegating things out to other people. So the deeper the crease, the harder it is for you to do that. So that's more on your professional side than it is on your personal side. And then one of the things that's actually, oh,
Like on a personal side, I'm better at delegating things out.
and then I think we saw this one. If not, I showed it to you earlier. But yes.
That checks out.
Okay, so that's not the right card. I'll have to see if I've got it downstairs. So you have, when you smile, your gums show. And where some people may have gotten teased, like when they were younger, like, oh, you've got a gummy smile. What that is that's somebody that doesn't hold back. When they're in, they're all the way in to support you because they're showing everything. We show our fangs when we want to be a danger to someone else, but when we smile so much that we're not holding anything back, that's your smile that you have. So let me see if it's here or not. Nope, it must be at the house. Okay. Anyway, I did bring you guys some of the cards. Yes.
I know.
Yeah.
He got us sets of cards.
Yeah.
We
It's for you
could-
guys to live here. And
I
yeah.
love it.
So it becomes fun because you can pull people up and like quiz each other. And that's the best thing. If you're going to learn this, again, it's not my book. I am writing a book, but my book's not out. This is all my mentor stuff. This is other people's stuff. Everything I put on my webpage are books that have helped me. And what you do is you involve somebody else, because then you make a game out of it. So what I did is when I went in 2012 and got certified, I made my buddy Javier go with me. And we did a 2-day course to get certified in it. And we went on trips, and everywhere we go, be like, what does that server have? What does that bartender have? And so it was a way to quiz each other, and that's how you learn it, you make a game out of it. So I would do the same thing when I was traveling for work. I would just take the cards of the book, and I would just sit in the airport, because nobody's ever paying attention in the airport.
Right,
They're
yeah,
going to
of
the
course.
gate. And it would be like, from the time I get in the airport till I get to my gate, how many rounded eyebrows can I find? Or how many, just pick a feature.
Because at first it's like hard to like
Yes,
tell. Like
Yeah.
you really have to like get used to seeing it.
correct. And if you ever get into this, learn from my mistakes. When we first learn, we get all excited. We're like, well, you have this. Nobody likes to be pointed at. So what you have to learn to do is you point at your own features and you say, oh, you have straight eyebrows. Because then I'm giving you a visual of what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And it doesn't feel like this.
It does feel different.
Yes. So you have to learn, when you get excited about this, I always say, don't give them the finger. because people get really excited and start pointing at people's faces, and that just puts people on edge because we feel like we're a kid and we're in trouble. So you point at your own face and talk about the feature when you're doing it.
Wow. Okay, and so you're also looking at body language?
I do look at body language, but the thing right now is most meetings take place on Zoom. Body language doesn't help me right now. So Janine Driver, we were talking about, I'll make her be a guest for you soon. We have a course we're working on called Read the Face, Read the Room. So when you're on Zoom, that's where my part comes in. And then when you're in the room, she's a body language expert in statement analysis. And so I have a guilt by association of reading Renee Rodriguez's book, Amplify Your Life. Janine's Driver, You Say More Than You Think. There's another really good book called What Everybody's Saying by Joe Navarro, former FBI investigator.
I
So,
love these kind of things.
oh yeah, the great books. That's why I put them all on the website because people need to learn all these skills. With AI and automation coming, if you're not working on your people skills, you're going to be replaceable. I mean, I don't know if you just saw it. It was last week. The Shopify CEO said, "Show me what you can do that AI can't do
Yes.
before I'll hire you." Right?
I saw that.
Yes.
I mean, this AI stuff is crazy.
It is because knowledge used to be power.
Can it also read your face?
They're working on it right now. So if you Google and say facial recognition with facial, like with face reading, they're trying to figure that out now. So we used to have software. I used to sell technology to jails and prisons. That was my old career. And we had software that could pick up when somebody was getting agitated on the phone. Well, now there's ones that when you're on a Zoom call with clients, it can tell like what are their micro expressions that they're having in their body language. And with their tone of voice, are you losing the deal or not? Somebody showed me that. And I was like, ooh, that's a powerful tool. And it's doing it
This
like
AI
real-time
is just
data.
so crazy.
Yeah. So we're not that far off from Minority Report, where you're walking through the mall and it sees your eyes and it goes, oh, I'm going to give you this advertising. I don't think we're that far away. We're already being served up ads by our
Yeah, I
phones
was
and
gonna
everything
say,
else.
like,
Yeah. So yeah, it's with what you can do and what you can see. It's crazy with number one, this should still be taught in schools. Body language should be taught in school. Face reading should be taught in school. The whole reason I call it decoding faces is because it just sounds better. It's face reading. So it's like saying, I'm not a cashier, I'm a financial transaction specialist. It's the same thing, but it just sounds better. Yeah.
I mean, so it's interesting, like a lot of people who listen to this podcast or myself, like have, worked with individuals with autism.
Yeah.
Right. And one of the key characteristics of autism are like difficulty with like social cues
Yes.
and, communication in that sense. So like I spent a lot of time being like, all right, let's say I was working with like a 16-year-old client
Mhm.
and like, they just want to come and like talk about, I don't know, the history of Rome.
Yes.
And like, I'd be like, hey, like, look at this body language this person is giving you. This is showing that they have zero interest in what you're talking about.
Right.
So else can we do? So we're kind of like, we are, like I'm saying, within a lot of the population that, myself and others in my field work in, we kind of are teaching some of those like body language things. Like, hey, this person's open to a conversation right now. This
Yeah.
person is not. This person's actually looking upset. I would stop saying what you're saying.
Yes. That's one of the things I cover. So it's not faces is my big thing, but then we talk about statement analysis and body language. And that's one of the things we cover is, do you have open body posture? So if I'm sitting like this for the podcast, does it look like I'm interested in being here? Now it could be I'm cold. It could be that
That's what
my
I was
back
gonna say.
hurts, but it's what people have learned to do is you got to keep open so you feel like it's open. So what they teach people is attire appropriate is you should be sitting and open like this. Now it's fine if over time, if I cross my legs, but if you said something and I immediately went, that means I was upset by something. Or if you said something, I went, that's when you have to watch about crossed arms or crossed legs. It's the speed of which the transaction happens versus the other. But yeah, if you come in, that's why, like when people want to see hands, they want to see hands in this area, right? So that's why when people are talking on stage, when you do things like that with your hands, people trust you. And what they teach at hotels is when you ask, where's the bathroom? They go, oh, the bathroom is this way. Because when there's not pointing, you don't feel pressure or you don't feel like they're in trouble. So if I could do that,
They'll teach them to do that.
yeah. So instead of going, the bathroom's over here, bathroom's this way. See how it's one little change, but it's completely different on how it's perceived by us. Because this is an open hand pointing the way versus it's that way. Like you're in trouble. Go to your room.
Wow. And when I think about this, I'm just like thinking of it behaviorally. There's so many things that are just from our learning histories
Right.
of like what are associated with them.
Yeah. Think about it.
Like pointing.
Yeah. Pointing. Go to your room right
It could
now.
be multiple things. It could be like,
what is this? Yeah.
right. Who did this?
Uh-huh. But if you just said, oh, it's located that way, it's fine. But if I go, it's over there, it still feels like trouble.
It's so wild, these little
It
things.
is. That's why the company's called Subtle Skills. Well, it's for two reasons. Um, one is when I started, I was afraid to trade under my own name because I had imposter syndrome, right? But I wanted to share the skills that helped me with other people. So I bought subtleskills.com, thought I was a genius. Then I realized nobody can spell subtle. So that's a whole other topic. But it really is all these little skills and books and things. Like I recommend to people you read a book on magic tricks or mentalism because what you learn is the presentation that a magician goes through can help anybody in sales because that's the whole thing. It's not the magic trick. It's the grace of which they do it at that makes magic so fun to watch. So you should be reading all these different books to learn things, but it's little differences. Like you can take, I'm divorced. When we were going through marriage counseling, we went through a MIGO therapy, and a MIGO therapy is basically active listening. And that is, you would say, I had a really hard day today. And the counselor would go, okay, what do you say? Well, I heard you say that you had a really hard day today. Now, I don't have to repeat you verbatim, but
Trust
it's
me, I'm divorced also.
okay.
We did the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm having
So,
like flashbacks as you say this.
yeah.
I'm hearing that you're saying
Yes.
blah, 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 blah,
Right.
blah.
But the reason they teach that is because they're trying to get communication and making each other feel seen and heard. Well, you can apply that to anything in business. So when somebody's telling you their story, you can pick up on keywords that were important to them, or you let them know you're listening, not just waiting to talk, but saying, so you, and then repeat some version of that story. You don't, if you do an exact copy of what they are, then they feel like you're mimicking them and making
Right.
fun of them. But it's good to let people know that you're listening to them.
Mhm.
Okay, so you had a really hard day because of this, or so you know, that's how where active listening comes in. So that's where right now we're stuck with, I call us, we're digitally disconnected. And that is, we don't talk to each other that often. Instead of calling up your friend going, hey, what's going on in your life? I'm just going to check their profile, see what's going on with them. So we are,
And that shit's all bullshit.
it is, we put up the beautiful moments. That's why I'm a big fan of, I call it share the suck or share the shit. Whichever way you want to look at it. And that is, you should be posting about the bad stuff. So I showed you one earlier that I was going to quit. And then a business card came, or a
That's
card
so
came
crazy.
in.
I also post that stuff all
Yeah.
the time. Like,
People.
especially before my divorce,
Yeah.
it was, I like would feel guilty if I posted like things are looking so great, but inside it was like
Mhm.
horrible. So I actually like won this contest in this group. It like, I don't know what it was. It was like a new photographer in town.
Yeah.
Like I won this contest somehow. And so like, it was like a picture of like me, my ex
Mhm.
and my son.
Yeah.
And like the pictures are beautiful. We look perfect.
Mhm.
And like this woman, part of her thing was like that I share them as like, because I won this free thing from her.
Right.
Right. So I'm like, I felt like this is so fake. Me posting these perfect pictures of us like holding our baby up and like, and so like the whole thing, like I literally, when I go back and read them now, I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, as things look perfect here, it's been a really try, like, you know,
Yeah.
like blah, blah, blah. The pictures are great.
Mhm.
I also look good in them. So I wanted to post it, but it's been very trying. Things have not like,
Yeah.
because I would actually like feel guilty to people on the outside.
Right. But that's what we're taught. We're taught to share the celebrations. That's all it's for. And it's actually the opposite. One of the most
People connect to you most when you actually share like the real raw.
Yeah. I did a post, what's it like a year after being fired? Because I was 21 and a half years at a company. I got fired after a TikTok video went viral. Now, they didn't say it was that. They just said, oh, I was fired for poor performance.
What was the TikTok video?
Somebody asked me how much I make and what do I do? And so it was, do you know who Ryan McGinn is?
No.
Okay, you guys need to follow him. It's Ryan, Magin. He was one of the first ones when TikTok came out that taught people how to go viral. And so he was doing street interviews, and we met at a traffic and conversion.
Well, I
Yeah.
know he'll ask people like, where do you live? How
Yeah.
much money do you
Yep.
make?
Yes.
What's your job? And how much
Yeah,
money
he's
do you
got all
make?
the tattoos, and yeah,
Yes.
so that's my buddy Ryan. He's actually having an event next month, and so he did that, and it was around Thanksgiving. So I met him in September 2022, and I finally like people are like get on TikTok. I'm like, okay, I'm 50. I was like, okay, I'll get on it. So I was 47 at the time, and I had it all set up. It was Subtle Skills. It never had my name, but then I remember I was in Washington visiting my brother, and all of a sudden my phone started just blowing up, and it said this person watched your video. This person. I'm like, how did they know? They made a change in the algorithm. It said if your phone number or my phone number is in your phone, it showed you my videos. All of a sudden, my customers and things knew how much I made, and I was making good money because I was a regional vice president of sales, and I got fired the next week. And so they didn't say it was that, but the timing was awfully convenient.
You
So
used to be so careful what's on social.
yeah, but it was under Subtle Skills. So I never thought it would go out there. But sure enough, and all of a sudden it just like poof, and people came out, like even people that were employees, are like, you make that much? And I was like, oh crap, because I didn't make good money. And then my golden handcuffs were gone. So I went from making good money to zero, no severance, just
And
And
so
so,
you talked about what that was like.
yeah, I talked about what that was like having to live off my 401k because getting into speaking is very rough. You have to do a lot for free, a whole
Yeah.
lot. Like when you first start, you pay your own airfare, you pay your own hotel, you buy your own meals, you speak for free. Then they'll start paying for your travel, and then maybe $200 here, whatever. And then you finally get a few years into where you're making good money doing it, but it's a long road to get there. So I lived off my 401k for 2 years. And there was a part of me that was like, oh my God, I'm stealing from my future. And then I'm like, but who's going to say I'm going to live to have that money? Right. So I spent 21 and a half years working for somebody else. Why can't I invest 5 in me? And that's the whole thing. Like, I think right now everybody needs to have a side passion project, a hobby, something, because safe jobs aren't safe anymore. You can go through the last 2 years, 2023, the great resignation, people quit left and right.
Uh-huh.
2024, the great unbossing. So all these companies that need to make their numbers got rid of mid-level managers. So you kept the people on top and you kept the workers. So the old safe jobs that were mid-level manager gone in 2024. Right now we're going through where government workers, that used to be the thing. Oh, just go get a job with the government. You work for 20, 30 years. You don't even have to do anything. You have a retirement, a pension. Those are people are losing jobs. So what is going to keep people relevant is what we're doing right now. Get in rooms with people, have conversations, learn about body language, learn to decode faces, learn to listen to statements, learn active listening. Because when people want you to be in the room, that's how you build rapport. Rapport is how you build relationships. Relationships is where business comes from. So if you're not learning these skills, you're not going to make any more sales and you're going to lose customers. Because why are we all using AI to go, oh, I don't need to pay that anymore. Oh, I don't need to pay that anymore. So what's going to keep you in rooms is the relationships you have.
That is so true.
Mhm.
It's, I mean, this AI thing, I'm like still on like every time I'm like, because sometimes the AI even seems like personal.
Oh yeah, and it's learning about us. I don't know if you saw, they just did an article yesterday that it's costing OpenAI millions of
Or
dollars.
thank you.
Please and thank you. Yeah. So if you think about it, if that's just those 2 words are costing them all this money, what's the rest of it learning? And I have a friend who she named hers, I don't even remember, she named it like Steve or something like that. And she talks to it every day and it's her personal assistant now. And it gives her advice and it called her out. It's like, why are you holding back? Why aren't you doing this? Where's your accountability? She's like, oh, so it's very interesting.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
the more things I see it do, I'm like, this is just so crazy.
And this can kind of tail into what we're talking about. Intelligent.com did a study in December 2023, 800 employers trying to hire kids right out of college. And what they found is 53% couldn't make eye contact during an interview. 21% refused to turn on their camera for a virtual interview. And
Are you kidding?
no, go look at the statistics. And then I don't know how they got this number, but it said that 19% brought their parents to an interview.
I'm like allergic to that.
Yeah. I thought you were going to go like this and go ahead and
No,
point,
I'm
and then you
really
sneezed.
allergic to that. I mean, I get it. I feel like this is
Yeah.
where we're at.
It is. So I learned this, and I don't give me credit for it. I learned it at dinner a month ago. We're familiar with helicopter parents. They're the ones that kind of always hover around their kid. Now they're calling lawnmower parents. And what the lawnmower parent is, they want to know what is my kid facing. They go and mow it down for the kids. So the kids aren't having adversity. They're not learning things. And in all fairness, it's easy to make fun of kids, but we gave, and I'm 50. I don't know how old you guys are, but I didn't grow up with this, right? So I grew up with an old camera that literally you had to take a picture and you sent it off, and in 2 weeks you got a crappy picture back. And you're like, and kids now
Totally.
can take the perfect picture. If they don't like it, they delete it. So it's about perfection.
And use a filter.
Yes, use a filter. When I'm sending text messages, and then so now when doing text messages, I can perfect it. Now I can go and edit it. Sending email, same thing, right? So they're growing up in a world of perfection, and so conversations like we're having scare them because I can't craft the perfect thing.
Like this requires me.
Yes. So they say right now that younger kids is the having face-to-face communication is as scary as public speaking because they're not in control. So they go up. Well, think about it. I can order food, Uber, dates, you name it, all from a phone that I never have to interact with anyone. Versus I grew up when the phone would just ring, you said hello, no caller ID. We had to learn to talk to people. If you wanted something from the store, you had to talk to another person. You couldn't just Amazon it.
Totally.
So we just need to re-educate them to explain, because they were raised in an environment that they didn't need any of that. And so it's easy to make fun of people. Oh, those young kids, they don't know how to talk to. It's because we created that. So we have to help them do it.
And teach these skills.
Absolutely. That's where, again, if they don't have the same skills of, well, I'll just text or email. Great. I don't need you because now AI can do it. I can create an AI bot that can text and email my customers. So what are you doing to be relevant? And that's getting in the room and developing relationships and rapport with people.
That's so true. Actually, this is the first year that I actually started going to conferences.
Mhm.
Like usually, we do everything online, but it was just like so nice meeting the people in real life.
I'm a huge fan of going to events because while you may go to see the speakers, the real power is in networking in the room.
Right.
Because you can watch, and I say this and I shoot myself in the foot, you can watch speakers online, YouTube, you name it. But really, you need to go to be in the presence,
Oh.
get the excitement, but you need to be talking to the other people in the room. That may be your next business partner or somebody who's already overcome that issue that you are struggling with right now, that you're not going to get that time with a speaker. Because a lot of speakers come in, they go green room, stage, green room, home. So if you're not going to event, or if you're going to events and you're
Totally.
not networking, you're missing out on why you're
Right.
going
And
to
the person
events.
who's in that talk, they probably have the same interest as you.
Right, exactly.
So cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
Do we have more pictures? Do we need to wrap up?
No, I want to know, quick question to anyone in the back here. I don't want Julia to her to be holding back. Is there a question that you have that you want to ask?
I mean, I have more personal people that I'd love for you to look at.
Sure. We can do
But I
that.
don't know if that's like on the pod.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. We'll take that. I'll let you guys. I'll post the secret, whatever he says on a Instagram
You
live.
can do
Yeah.
it Patreon.
There you go.
Patreon. I love it. I'm just fascinated by this, and I think it's so interesting how
Yeah.
like our faces are actually responding to like our life experiences.
Right. What we should do, you guys have the flashcards now. Play with it for a little bit, and then let's come back and do a Q&A.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
This is so cool, by the way, that you're in Dallas. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yep. That way,
It's so much nicer
get
doing a podcast when someone's here.
Oh, I love in person.
Also, it's like I never know like which screen to look at when I'm like on Zoom and it's covered by like the actual camera. It's usually
Yeah. And I have a stand-up desk too, so I stand a majority of the time when I'm doing Zoom calls and everything, and I find myself like going back and forth. And it's when I'm here, I can sit. It's the human connection. This is what
Totally.
we crave. This is what we miss. I mean, everybody, even if you say I'm an introvert, look, I'm an introvert at times, but I love to be around people. When we were locked in our houses, what did we crave? To be around people again.
Right.
If you're the worst offender, what do? We put you in solitary confinement. People need to be around people. And when you can do it in person like this, it's just a different energy. It's a different vibe.
I totally
than it
agree.
is. Yeah.
I think it's cool. Once we have these cards, we could do a Q&A. Maybe we could even like let people join it. from,
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely. Or you guys can bring up
listeners.
pop-up pictures, then we can go like, okay, what do you see? And just see how much you guys have picked up since then.
I'd love that. That
Yeah.
sounds fun. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Brian, so much for coming on. I am
course.
so appreciative. I mean, this is just absolutely fascinating. I feel like there could be a lot of questions here in general,
Yeah.
but this was a good start. We might have to do a part two.
Oh, would love to.
I love it. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Where can everyone find you?
So I'm Subtle Skills everywhere, but like I said, nobody can spell subtle. So if you can't, you can go just getthecheatsheet.com. And what that'll do is it'll take them to my website and they can actually download a little cheat sheet of the different types of eyebrows. and
Yeah,
some
I
other
have it.
features. Yeah. Yeah. So they can just go and download that. So I just tell people, get that, print it out, leave it by your computer, and you can get examples of what people see. So go back one, and that's where we're talking about the eye, the angles down. Like that's what you have on your professional side. Right
Down.
there. Yep.
And then which part of the eye is going down? Like
So
the outside part?
The outside. So you go from the inside. If you had a business card, go inside to outside. Would it go up, down, angle? Yeah.
That's down?
Yeah.
Straight and up?
Yep.
Don't have a preference either way. I love it. Amazing. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. You guys need to check this out. It really is interesting. I mean, there's so many things like visually that I think we're going to have to definitely post these within like our posts. People could, these will be some of our posts when this podcast comes out. I'm excited.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in today. You know where you could find us. You could find us on our website, behaviorbitches.com, Facebook at Behavior Bitches Podcast, Instagram at Behavior Bitches Podcast, TikTok at Behavior Bitches Podcast, YouTube. Please go subscribe to our YouTube channel at Behavior Bitches Podcast. Duh, we're consistent across the board. And that's all we have for you today. So as always, love ya, mean it.
It's behavior, bitches.